Welcome everyone, this is Joe Ribello, known to many of you in the internet and the martial arts world as Kenpo Joe. Welcome to our next episode on elaborating upon Kenpo. And in this episode, we're going to be going over into the technique known as the requirements for yellow belt, technique number 5, originally spreading branch, which was later replaced by captured twigs. Now the attack, like our previous technique, Aggressive Twins, is the same, which is a rear bear hug, arms pinned. I have a phrase that I teach my students in American Kenpo that no two techniques in the Ed Parker system are taught against the exact same attack. And other people have questioned, what do you mean by that? But it's true. But you have to look for it to understand that. Now, we were talking in our first video, we were discussing how a lot of the material that's taught in those 3 techniques that were taken out, or again, as we mentioned before, put somewhere else in the system, were too advanced for the student who was learning it at that time. Simply stated, a white belt beginner getting ready to test for yellow belt. So, why did they take out spreading branch? Well, let's first of all go into the name, spreading branch. Now, if we know our various Kenpo synonyms or Kenpo code words, again, hair is feathers. Yes, I know I have no feathers on my head. A little bit on the side. Thank you. Elbows are wings. Arms are twigs. Fingers are leaves. Legs are branches. Groin is peach. I know some people are going through an old Cheech and Chong reference with that joke. But the key ingredient is I have to spread my opponent's branch. Not branches, but branch. One of their legs. So, let's go over the technique, shall we? From a natural stance, as your opponent executes a rear bear hug, arms pinned, take your left hand, pin your opponent's hands. Take your right foot, slide back towards 730 into a reverse bow stance. As you do so, execute a rear hammer fist to your opponent's groin, causing your opponent's hands to gravitate toward their groin. Execute a right rolling vertical back knuckle to your opponent's face. Take your right hand, hook the back of your opponent's head. Take your left hand and match it, anchoring your elbows. Your 2 hands in the anchored position, then pull the opponent's head down into a front knee, stepping into a horse stance, or side horse in this case, keeping your opponent's back of head in check so his knees are even with his face as you execute a right overhead inward elbow to their spinal column. Again, no cross and cover out required. Now, let's look at a side view of that given technique. The technique is called spreading branch, used against a rear bear hug, arms pinned. Your left hand pins both the opponent's hands. Oh, I should mention we should step out the horse first, shouldn't we? Certainly. So we'll step out the horse, pulling our opponent off balance, pulling their body aside, spreading their legs accordingly. Then I'm going to take my rear foot and I'm going to slide back on a diagonal angle to 730 with a underhand reverse hammer fist to the groin. This causes my opponent's hands to gravitate to where they feel pain, thereby letting go of the bear hug and also accessing their next target, the bridge of your opponent's nose, with a right vertical rolling back knuckle. Take your right hand, hook the back of your opponent's head, let your left hand meet it, drive with a front knee, and using gravitational marriage, drop down into a side horse with a right overhead inward elbow. Again, no cross and cover out required. Now I realize some people just have it stepping out the horse, then sliding back. Others have it sliding back on a diagonal from the natural stance. But the key ingredient is, why isn't this technique in there anymore? Well, a reverse bow. Do we learn that for yellow? Nope. We don't learn that till orange belt. And we certainly don't use it as a leg locking technique, because that's what we're doing. We're blowing out our opponent's left leg. Mr. Parker had a great phrase. He used to call it an involuntary split. I'm spreading the person's width zone so wide that they can't maintain their balance, and they're basically, for lack of a better term, stuck in a split. Again, fifth technique, white belt beginners, people were blowing people's knees out. People were locking in. And again, the body does not work on diagonal. That's a Kenpo axiom. By striking on that diagonal, they tear out the lateral collateral ligament, the meniscus, all wonderful types of ligaments and tendons that would just get torn out from that diagonal action. Doesn't mean it's not an effective technique. It just means that action was too advanced for white belt beginners. The rear hammer fist to the groin, well, we kept that for, again, the technique captured twigs. But this, the rolling vertical back knuckle. Now, there was this young man, this a Chinese gentleman who, Mr. Parker, who fell in love with this technique. What was his name? Oh yeah, Bruce Lee. And Bruce Lee used it in the film Fist of Fury, which in the Oriental countries was known as the Big Boss. And he has that classic scene where he's standing there and whack! He hits both the guys with the back knuckle. And also does the exact same technique, once again, in the subsequent sequel film, Chinese Connection, or in the Orient, Fist of Fury. So Bruce loved this. He loved this back knuckle. He could be 2 feet away from the guy and still do the movement. It looked like he popped him right dead in the face. Again, that has since been used in everything from Steve Martin as the jerk to the mandrill in The Lion King. So, again, that classic Bruce Lee move. Where'd he get it from? Spreading branch. Now, Mr. Parker liked the technique, obviously, but the material presented within it, and then creating this anchored hook, which basically, if you know MMA and Jiu-Jitsu, you might know it as a Darce choke. And that's what it is, a choke. When I worked with David German, he didn't like that move. I don't know why exactly, but he just didn't like it. He didn't like the way it was presented. Again, but he had studied Jiu-Jitsu. For him, he'd hit and blow somebody's leg out and throw them to the ground and follow up with a tackle, follow them to the ground in the system of tie. But again, driving that action to that front knee, checking overhead inward elbow. We learned the overhead inward elbow? You bet. Requirement for yellow belt, overhead inward elbow. Around and down. So we have that. The front knee. Wow, that's taught at orange belt. So again, a lot of material presented was too advanced for a white belt beginner. So that's why it was taken out of the system. But guess what? It wasn't taken out of the system. What it was instead was placed in one of our more advanced basic techniques. Now, I'm not going to give you all the answers. That's where the comments line is. So now I want you, as a Kenpo practitioner, to write in the comment lines what technique that Mr. Parker took the essence of spreading branch and put it into. And believe me, it's not a beginner or an intermediate technique. That's for darn sure. So there you have it, spreading branch. I hope you enjoy this. I hope you get some insight. And I hope now you understand why Mr. Parker decided to not delete the technique, but progress it up to a level where the student had all the major tools and could perform them without harming a fellow student in the studio, but yet making it still the effective technique that it is, spreading branch. Well, I hope you got something out of today's video. I hope you got some insights, and I'm looking forward. Again, if you're on YouTube, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for the notification so you find out when we're doing more videos. And we're going to be doing a lot more videos. At the beginning of the year, I said, I'm going to do a video a day, every day for the year. I'll have 365 videos by the end of the year. Well, that idea went the way of the dodo bird, and I didn't do it. So I'm trying to catch up now. It's toward the end of September. I got a lot of videos to do. But thankfully, we also have a lot of footage I've already filmed that will be being placed in the different social media that's available here on the internet. So I hope to hear from you. I hope you got something out of this, and I hope this makes you think and about elaborating upon your Kenpo. Until next time, this is Joe Rebello. Keep training. And remember, practice, practice, practice. See you next video.